Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, James Protin. Every week I will be sharing the experiences that have defined my journey and talking with people who have their own powerful story to tell. It's about doing better and being better in life, business, and all things in between. The visually inclined can catch us on YouTube, or you can check us out on just about every podcast platform. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. We find ourselves here today back at His Place Coffee Community More in Menneson, where it all started. This is where we did our first show, and it's really cool to be back. We have a great guest for you today, my friend Davis Slagle. Davis is the owner of BeeGraphix, who takes care of just about everybody in the Valley's printing needs. So, and you got that spiffy jacket. Davis, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having us here.
It's good to have you. Tell me about the jacket. Let's start with that, because that's an attention getter, man.
It is. It's 100% attention getter, but it's also a confidence builder. I feel like when you put the uniform on, you go into battle, right? This is the same thing. I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to teach, explain anything, in any situation I'm in. It just feels like I have my uniform on and I'm ready to go.
And you do keynote speaking and stuff like that at conferences and things like that. Do you wear the jacket?
Yes. With the jacket's on, the people in the industry know me by the yellow jacket.
Yeah.
And
it's a brand.
It's become a brand for me, yes.
That is very cool. And you did all the printing and everything yourself? You guys did it?
Yeah, so we brought it in-house, decorated it. We didn't make the jacket, but we brought it in and decorated it. So
turn and show it so we have that there, and then on the back. That's really cool.
And then we did the theme of it is a Banksy style art with a bee. So
there you go.
We did graffiti artist and we used AI to help create it and edited it and printed it out.
That is really cool. It makes perfect sense. It really gets you. People remember that.
Exactly.
They remember that brand, and because I didn't originally know that it was B-E-E. I thought it was just B, letter B, graphics, right? So that's really cool.
So it spun off of when we originally bought the business in 2004. No one could say the name Battellini.
It was a tough one.
No one could pronounce that, so we changed it to BeeGraphix. And since then, since 2004, it stayed that way. So,
and it's a very well-known brand. And from local business standpoint. And I have to confess, I didn't realize this, but I always did business with you guys because you were local. But you have gone really high tech, dude. I mean, you've come way far from where you guys started in 2004 when you bought this business.
Oh, it's crazy. The growth, the scale of what we're doing now.
Yeah.
We still have 2 locations, one in Fredericktown, one in Belle Vernon.
Mm-hmm.
But we have over 1,000 online stores now. So people across the country have stores that we produce out of the Valley and send products all across the United States. There's even times we're sending to different countries, Europe, Canada, and it's all products coming out of the Valley area. So it's
really cool.
Been quite a transition, quite a journey, and I think we'll get into that a little more.
Yeah, and I think we have a tendency to really think small here. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I think it's a cool little mom and pop shop, we'll give you some business, and we'll take care of you, kid. We'll give you, get a few hats and shirts. But you guys are doing stuff on a national, even international scale. I love that. That's something that we need to celebrate that. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show, is to get that story out there as to how you went from Battellini's to BeeGraphix to where you are today.
Yeah, so I guess in the short part of it is, we started out as a regular mom and pop screen print shop. We had equipment and we were doing it the same way for years, right? Bring the order in, handwrite it up, do this, manually print it. Everything was hard, yet physical is the best way to put it.
Right.
And since then, we've seen some substantial growth because we started using our brains instead of our bodies.
There you go.
We brought in technology. And one of the biggest leaps we've had was when the pandemic hit, and we switched. I had caught wind of a new tech that was going to be coming out, and I reached out. I found someone in New Zealand who led me to someone in China, who then I convinced Dennis, who's the owner, that hey, we need to invest in this. Keep in mind, this is 3 months into the pandemic, and we haven't been open, so. he's like, you're out of your mind.
That's a bold move.
We're losing money like crazy. And I'm like, I'm going to send X amount of dollars overseas, and we're going to see what we get back. Well, we got it, and we thought that there was very high potential for it.
Okay.
And what that has allowed us to do is, it's called direct film printing. It allows us to print one of anything at high color count and extremely high quality at any time.
Okay.
So we've created new processes how to print. That's allowed us to increase the quantities of stores we have and how we process and produce these. Okay. So it's completely opened up what we can do. And we did that for a year and a half. And then the next move was, how do you speed this up? How do you amplify what you're doing? How do you take it to even the next level? And we brought in automations. And when I say automations and artificial intelligence, we have not fired any employee because we brought in automations.
Okay.
We've made their more repetitive tasks
That's huge.
easier.
Yes.
But we haven't gotten rid of anyone. We're just able to do more with the same amount of people.
That's fantastic, because that's as a worker, if you're on a line, you're on a production line or whatever, that's your biggest fear of technology, right? We just the robots are going to take our jobs, and there's a lot to that. We're building up crazy things with technology. The fact that you kept your team intact and made their jobs easier and better, that's pretty cool. It's investing in your people.
And the one big thing is artificial intelligence with art. If you see Midjourney or Dolly, any of those things that people say they're going to take their jobs.
Yeah.
I have the complete opposite approach of it. I say you can take your job, use this tool, be 10 times better and 10 times faster.
And be more productive and better at your job.
Why would you want to do it the hardest way possible when this exists? If the whole point of the job is to get from A to B,
right?
Why wouldn't you get there 1/10 of the time?
That's exactly right.
And we're really working on how we use those tools.
Yeah.
How we teach the next coming, like the people coming into our business, why we're doing it. Mm-hmm. And it was a curve. It wasn't the easiest thing ever. But when they saw what they could create versus it would take them 10 days to do it last time, but they can make a full color truck and it look awesome in 5 minutes, then there was a change. Everybody was afraid they were going to lose their jobs by it, but that's not the intention at all.
And that's really cool. And that's how. So let's talk through the process of an online store, because we just set one up with you guys for podcasts, merchandise, and Chris and your team took really good care of us as always. So, but if somebody goes into our store and they want to buy a hoodie, right, and the gear, we don't have 100 of those sitting on the shelf. It's a one-off thing. So if somebody sends it online, places an order, you guys make it and ship. They're not just sitting around on the shelf that you go and pull a large or a medium or whatever, because we have a bunch of different designs. They're similar, but they're different, and language-wise and so on and so forth. So that was my biggest question is, I can't afford to go and buy 500 hoodies and have them sitting on the shelf so you guys can just pull one off and send it. But I found out I was very happy to find out that that's not how it works.
Exactly. So if you were to do that, right, and you have 3 designs on a piece of paper, 40% would like the first design, 40% would like the second design, 20% would like the third design. We do that with our websites. You can buy any one, and when the order comes in, it signals which artwork we need to print. We purchase the blank and we marry them together and ship them to your customer. There's no hands-on. You don't have to process it. And there's one other aspect to it we don't talk enough about probably, is how we handle the customer service at the end of it. Mm-hmm. Say there was a little hole in the sleeve of your shirt, right? They're not calling you back, the store owner, to fix it. We're handling that back end.
Oh,
so we're taking over the customer service arm of it. They send us a picture, we replace it. So not only we produce it, but we handle any minor issue that would come behind it.
That's fantastic. And from my perspective, as a customer, a client of yours, right? So we have a brand that we want to protect, but we want to put it out there, we want to get it out there, and there's a lot of trust involved because of that reason. So we work for a living, right? So what we do with the podcast, we can't take orders, we can't ship, we can't do all those things. So when Chris explained the whole process to me, if I didn't know him for 20 years, I'd have said, "No, you're just messing with me," because it sounds too good to be true, right? It really does, because you guys do everything, and we get to a certain point every month, and you send us a check. In our particular case, we're doing this for charity, right? Sure. So quarterly, Chris and I talk. So quarterly, we'll take and we'll bundle up whatever we've made, and we're going to try to support a different charity every quarter. But it really does sound too good to be true.
And to be honest, I don't think we do a good enough job explaining it to people who don't know sometimes. Yeah. Because there's a lot of aspects that we don't have in our marketing. Some of the things that are all behind the scenes that I think people just expecting, and I'm thinking they're getting it from other companies like me, but they're not. Right. There's pieces that we do that we don't talk about that others just aren't giving to that customer. We just consider it part of the package still.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's very matter of fact with you guys. It's part of the deal where I've been in places where you have to ask, you have to keep pulling stuff out. You have to keep asking, you have to keep pulling it out. And I think you're right. Very few people, if any, would walk into one of your stores and to talk to you guys about that and would really expect that. Even when I told my wife, she's, "How much is it going to cost you?" I said, "Nothing." No. What's it going to cost? Yeah, it's not going to cost anything. This is what happens. And I went through it step by step, and Chris explained it very, very well. And it's like, wow. Once you get past that, this is too good to be true thing. Yeah. It's like, wow, these guys are good. This is really, really cool.
We've been working on this for 5 or 6 years pretty heavily. And the transition came when we really adopted the new technology. Yeah. It's probably 30% of our business now. We still do traditional printing in bulk, but it's the largest growth opportunity we see.
And you guys do a lot of local schools, obviously, and local organizations, and you're very visible just about anywhere you go, and you see a local mascot. I mean, you guys have made that shirt or that hat or whatever the case may be.
A bunch of schools, bunch of local businesses we're tied with, even national or regional businesses we do. So it's not just in the Valley. We send stuff to 36 states, I think. So it's quite more than what the average person from this area would think we do.
So that is awesome. I was pleasantly surprised. So you're born and raised here, right? So tell us a little bit about where you come from, your upbringing you come from, and you mentioned Dennis. You can let the folks know who Dennis is and your relationship to all that, because it's a great story. It's a great family story.
So I'm a third generation entrepreneur. Okay. Dennis, my father, and his father, Dallas, they were in the furniture business together before the apparel side. So third generation, and he had bought the business right as I was graduating high school. Okay. I break my leg the summer I graduate. Well, guess who can't move around? They can learn how to draw T-shirts. Couldn't walk,
but you could draw.
But I could draw. And I learned that whole summer, and then continued to go to school in California where we had a retail location. Mm-hmm. So worked all through college, took night classes, and then spun right into it. And it was a much different business then. It was heavy retail, heavy physical.
And printing, listen, screen printing back then was a messy business.
It was dirty.
You had inks and all this. I mean, that was a messy business. It was labor intensive.
It was very hard. And we did our best at it. We had slow, steady growth. Mm-hmm. And then really after, 10 years go by, 14 years go by, and I'm like, there has to be an easier way, or a more productive way, because we didn't really have a ton of the process. It was always how it had been done.
We've always done it.
Exactly. And once you can get out of that thinking of, I got to do it this way because that's why I have to do it, right? That's when your eyes open up. And that's where you can really take things to the next level and see the different opportunities and see what else is around you. And it may not be in your industry, right, where you can catch an idea from. Oh, absolutely. But they can just transfer right over, and it can be a serious place for growth. So
I agree.
He bought the business, went through college, and then since post-pandemic, I've really taken a much larger role in the business as far as sales training, programs, education in the business, and the platforms and the employees and the processes we make. We did when we changed equipment, we did a whole process implementation of how the workflow in every department works, how things get in and out, how sales handle, and it's really, really benefited us.
So sales, you mentioned that. So sales has a lot of different connotations, right? You can sell cars, you can sell real estate, there's a lot of things you can sell. There's a lot of things you can't sell, right? You know, sales it's not like a one size fits all thing that you guys sell printing, you sell t-shirts, you sell hoodies, you sell hats. It's not necessarily the case. You're selling brands. You know, your sales from your perspective I would think is different. I mean, what do you think about that?
How I look at our sales is not a numbers approach. Granted, we do that at the year end to see how we did and what the profitability was.
Metrics, right?
But I look at the things we sell not as products that are physical, but solutions we offer.
Okay.
And it's from the client's point of view, how are we making their life easier? Did this online store program, help them to raise money for their event? Did this special we have help fire company A get the gear they needed to wear for their event? Mm-hmm. Does this business platform special employee gift card program make their life easier to gift their employees? So it's not me selling, hey, I sold 10,000 hats and I'm the best salesperson in Pennsylvania. Right. It's no, I have a really good hat program that made it easy to understand, easy to buy, easy to produce, and easy to deliver, and in a timely manner. And that's kind of how we're setting up our business moving forward is not as the product, but as the solution. Mm-hmm. And giving them the information timely, accurately, following up. There's all kinds of customer service involved in there too. Oh
yeah, and you guys cross over so many different market sectors because everybody has to do marketing, everybody has to do branding, and that's your solution. You provide solutions for those things that are, outside the box a little bit. I mean, let's face it, a lot of places can print a t-shirt.
Sure.
Right? But like you said, the customer service, the follow-up, and understanding the community. That's a big deal. You guys have, that's a value add for you guys because, I love the scope of what you're doing, but you're still that local business. You understand how important it is to give back to the community.
100%. We do a ton of charitable things. Most recently, we just donated over 300 sweatshirts to the Pony World Series, from the Pony World Series to the city mission in Washington.
Nice.
So for the members that are staying there at their women's shelter, we gave everybody sweatshirts for the holidays. They were left over from the pony. They were dated. We bought them back and donated them to the mission. This past year, we host an annual 0.5K.
That is really cool.
And if you don't know what the 0.5K is, it's a walk that takes you down the Green Cove Marina.
Okay.
And it starts out with some light stretching, and that stretching may or may not involve an alcoholic drink. And as you work your way down, we have stops at every 10th of a kilometer. And you can get snacks, you can get a shot, you can have donuts. Cool. And this year, at the very end, we had a human horse race that people ran around the pool with the stick between their stick horse between their legs. And we raised close to $10,000 for the local school district. Yeah.
That is outrageous. Couple hundred people?
250 people in it. Probably an extra 50 people that were just moseying their way in, but 250 registered.
So 250 people having a heck of a good time, having fun, raised $10,000. That is amazing. It's hard fundraisers are hard. When you can be successful and raise money and have fun doing it, that's as good as it gets.
Yeah, and just a little bit differently. So we have our online store platform, mm-hmm. and we've helped groups raise over $500,000.
Really?
So it's not us, it's the profit that they make from their store. But when you tally it up, and we've been doing it for a little while, there's quite a bit of money that goes back into the community from the service we offer.
Right. So, okay. So tell me a little bit about family. So you're married. You have you have kids.
Yes, married to my wife Chelsea. I have a set of twins that are just turned 2, Dex and Silver.
Nice.
And they have, when they came along, they've changed my approach to community. They changed my approach. Until you have kids, you don't really, your mind is wired one way, right?
Sure.
It's kind of selfish. And then when that hits, it opens up a whole nother window.
Yeah.
And which is great. It's a part of growing. It's part of living. And it's been a great change. They keep me grounded. My wife keeps me from working too much overtime anymore. Not complaining about that. And I mean, the work-life balance has become more important to me since having those kids. And we kind of spun off of that, where we were talking. I was talking with Dennis, and I'm like, "What if we changed our hours?" He's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 is kind of bland, right?" Like, he said, "Well, what are you thinking?" I'm like, "What if we got out a half a day early every Friday?" And he looked at me like I had 10 heads. I'm like, "Let's rework the schedule so we're done at 1 o'clock, 1:30 on Fridays." And we tested it through the winter. The staff loved it.
Okay.
So at any given time, they can have a 2.5 day weekend. If they're going somewhere, sure, they're getting there by 5 o'clock, not working till 5 and getting there at 8.
Gives them a whole evening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's worked out really well. Just the balance of giving that extra time or changing where that time comes from has been huge. They seem to love it, and it allows people to get together more with the ones they care about.
Yeah. And work-life balance is huge. And, especially, I mean, you get this more than anybody with twins. Twins are a unique experience.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's like, so tell me about their names. Those are unique names. Where did you get that? There's got to be a story behind it.
It's not actually as great as you'd think. Dex comes from the males in my family are DMS.
Okay.
We wanted something short and sweet. Right?
Okay.
So that's where Dex came from. It topped our list of it.
Okay.
Silver comes from, remember the TV show Batman about 8 to 10 years ago, where it was the young Batman? His girlfriend was Silver St. Cloud. And we both looked at each other and we said we love that name.
There you go. That is very cool.
Yeah, that was
it is it is cool.
That came up with 6 years before we even had children. And we just looked at each other and said we like it.
This is it.
That's it.
That is very cool. That's a cool story, though.
Yeah.
That's a cool. I would not have thought Batman. But it's like, I'm thinking, okay, there's a story, but that's it. That's a cool story.
So, yeah, that's where it showed up from.
Very, very good. So, thinking about circling back to the business for a minute, when you think about how far you've come since 2004 and the tech and everything, and, what do you see down the road? 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. What's the future look like for BeeGraphix?
So
aside from making us a ton of money in our store,
I see different challenges, and that is going to be different challenges on businesses. And it doesn't matter if it's printing or if it's manufacturing. The change in how people buy is going to be a disruptor for small businesses.
Sure.
And not everything is going to be, I can walk down the street and get it. And those who get to however it changes or whatever it changes to first are going to win.
Right.
Amazon, all the big players are there first, but there's AI. I have a feeling voice to speech or text to speech is going to change how you shop in 3 years.
Okay.
Hey, Alexa, send me this. And you're done, right?
And that's it. That's all you have to do, yeah.
Or hey, I'm on TikTok watching a video. I want to buy that shirt that's on that TikTok right now. Click bought. Like, not going to any websites, not filling out any cards.
Yeah.
It's going to be a much faster paced environment. And it doesn't matter what you're selling. I think those channels of whoever gets there first is going to sell the most.
I think so. And you know what? I agree. I don't think being first is that big of a deal. I think there's going to be enough for everybody because it's going to be a huge thing. When you think about, just as an example here in the Mon Valley, in the mid 50s through the mid to late 60s, Charleroy PA had the 5th largest economy in Pennsylvania. We had Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, I think it was Erie, Scranton, but Charlotte was number 5.
Wow.
Charlotte, right? Then what happened? Then, the entire downtown was full. There was not a single empty storefront. Then all of a sudden, Century 3 Mall opened. Bam, it's over. Just like that. Just like that, it's over. When I was a kid growing up, I graduated from high school in 1977. I don't know until I left high school that I ever actually owned anything that didn't come from town. There was everything we needed was there. Shoes, clothing stores, bikes. I mean, it was literally everything was there. And Century 3 Mall opens. It's the largest indoor mall in the country at the time. And the little local retail just slipped away. And then all of a sudden, here comes Amazon, the internet, and Amazon, all that. And now, next thing you know, the malls are obsolete.
Right.
There's very few that are still hanging on. You look at Century 3 Mall now, I mean, they're talking about just demolishing it. It's been vacant for how many years? So that next step, that next iteration of retail and how we shop and how we purchase things, I think it's going to be fascinating.
And to be honest, I think it's going to be entertainment based as well.
Okay.
I don't think
that's interesting.
I don't think it's going to be the traditional, I approach you, I have this to offer you, do you want to buy it? Yeah. It's going to be, hey, here's my story, here's how I tell it, here's the act or skit we put on to get your attention, and oh yeah, you can buy this here.
Nick, you paying attention?
So I think it's going to be
the content creator.
Yeah.
No, and I think you and I talked earlier about partnering with different types of businesses. And I think that's going to make those types of arrangements and relationships that much more important. And even crossing market sectors. I mean, like you gave a perfect example of you have a restaurant and a tire store that are in close proximity, and you wouldn't think that those two things go together.
Taylor Swift in the NFL.
But and it is such a thing. But not only has that's a perfect example. I mean, look how many people that had no idea of anything about football or the NFL, Taylor Swift has brought to that market, and vice versa.
Hundreds of thousands of fans.
How many guys in all of a sudden now have something in common with their daughters with football?
And how many people do you think bought a Chiefs jersey that were girls? The amount of apparel that was sold off, the tickets that were sold, the signs you see at the games.
100%.
And they're both growing together.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
The other Kelsey brother I saw, the Philadelphia Eagles have a really robust and involved charity arm, and one of the things that they have an autism foundation. The Eagles have an autism foundation, and the other Kelsey brother, I guess his wife, autographed an old school Eagles jacket, right? Just put it online, and it's $100,000 in an online auction, just like that. I mean, it's the power of that is just it's amazing.
They showed her wearing it on their podcast, who Swifties are a fan of, who the NFL is a fan of, and
boom, there's the line, and there it is. And I think there's an opportunity to do that more in micro when you drill that down to a layer. Obviously, not everybody has access to the NFL, right? But look at where we're at with you have 1,000 online stores that I'm sure there's literally every market sector that you could possibly think of. It's not just schools and this and that and the other. It's businesses. It's nonprofits. It's all these things. How much linkage could there be just in that group that you have at hand? I mean, it's scary when you think about what you could do with all that.
It's crazy to just think about the numbers that could come out. But the cross communication it doesn't matter if you're the Taylor Swift or the Travis Kelce of the NFL. You can bring that down to any scale.
Yes.
And you can do it with 5 people on each side or 1-on-1. It doesn't matter what size business. The idea is to get the message out to each other's fans. Right. And next year we plan to do more and more of that with the local and on a bigger level.
Absolutely. We need to do some stuff together because there's a lot of ways, especially with the podcast platform that we have and our brand here with the podcast. I mean, we do marketing. We have a marketing business, but when you think about the podcast brand, and we're one of your stores, we're already working with you. So how could we take our branding and BeeGraphix and bring those together so that we both benefit. And I think there's some really obvious ways to do it.
Absolutely.
That's really cool. Nick, are you paying attention seriously? Okay. We're going to start what about you? You good? All right. See, Alex I trust his judgment more than Nick. Nick can be a little salty at times. But so I think those opportunities from a business perspective, down here in southwestern Pennsylvania, we have such a wide variety of businesses now. Now that when you think about the natural gas industry and all the supporting services and industries that has brought to the table that 10 years ago weren't here.
Sure.
So there's a huge market right there that we didn't have access to before. One
thing that kind of spin back off of what you're talking about is we're really working hard to do is know your market, know who you want to work with, narrow down the menu, make it easier, right? And don't try to do what you're not great at. Do what you're really good at.
Yeah.
And it's okay if you say no. And this is across any business.
Sure.
If I'm not really good at selling vehicle wraps or installing vehicle wraps, why would I ever try? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, here's my guy that does my wraps. Call him.
Buddy, he'll take care of you. Tell him I said to call.
Yeah. Everybody in our industry likes to use the term one-stop shop. Why? I can't be everything for everybody, and I'm not going to try. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to be really, really good at and how I'm going to deliver. And that's with the apparel and the online stores. But why try to be everything to everyone?
You're right, because when I look at the marketing landscape, there's I don't even know what the word is. There's so many marketing agencies, advertising agencies in the Pittsburgh market. Okay, we're one. So I could sit up at night and drive myself crazy trying to figure out how I'm going to differentiate myself and how are we going to get out there and compete. You get drug into that one-stop shop mentality. So I have to be able to do everything. I've got to be able to go in there. This agency can do this, and this. I got to be able to do all of that, whereas I really don't. And then you think about what you said, partnership. Okay, I've been in business for 40 years. I have a huge network. When I started to sit and go through it, I said, wait a minute, these guys do this really, really good. They do SEO and web design really, really well. Nick is one of the best video guys in the business. Oh, these guys over here, they do this. So now I have this team that I can put in front of somebody that it might be 5 small little businesses, but I have the same services and the same level of expertise as that big outfit from the city, right? So those partnering opportunities are really, really critical.
Now your business isn't just based on what you can provide; it's who you know and how you know them.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. And it cuts overhead. You don't have to worry about payroll, human resource, all that stuff. You have subcontractors and partners that do, and there you go. There's your one-stop shop, but it's 5 stops in one.
Exactly. And another aspect to that is even say you do the video services, right? You can let the client come in and tell you everything they want, or you can menuize it.
Sure.
Hey, option A, B,
C.
C.
People love a la carte menu, right?
Right?
That's exactly right. You can package all day, but inevitably you're going to find somebody. If you say, here's package A for $100, here's package B, you get this for $50, and package C is for $25. Well, but I want this, and this. Well, you got to pick one. No, because everybody is going to want something different, and a la carte is the way to go. So if you can have your packages, but you've got to be able to pull out those 3 or 4 items that somebody may want those particular things. So that's a really cool concept.
Yeah, exactly. But knowing them in advance and knowing what you can do and what you charge for them, right, makes life so much easier.
It does. And you reference saying no, and no is the hardest thing as an entrepreneur. It's the hardest thing to say because you don't want to see money walk out the door. And it's like, wait, there's got to be a way I can do this. We can. But it's probably the most powerful thing that you can say is no.
Not all money is the same.
That's exactly right.
There's profitable money and then there's unprofitable money.
That's very true. That is very true. And when you're a small business owner and you're relying on yourself and you've got especially when you've got employees, it's easy for me because I don't have employees. Nick and I, we're partners, but even, those sub consultants and everything, I don't have to worry about having mouths to feed, right? All I got to do is worry about paying my own mortgage and my electric bill. But at the end of the day, what you have, a couple dozen employees, those are families. Those aren't just numbers on a sheet that you send a check to every 2 weeks. Those are families, their children, their lives. Those are people's lives. And that's a burden. That can be a heavy burden. Yeah, makes decisions that much, you got to really pay attention to what you're doing.
Especially when a lot of our staff is younger. So we're actually either their first job out of college, or high school, but we're watching them grow with us. They're elevating, they're getting promotions.
Right.
We're watching them grow with the company as it grows. So they have a sense of it's their company too. It's not just, hey, we're not just doing this.
And that's how you retain them.
Yeah.
Right? That's how you retain them. Because, I'm sure you're familiar with that old adage, with this, the HR manager says to the CEO, what if we train these people and they leave? And the CEO says, what if we don't and they stay? Right? So, it's a catch-22 because there's always going to be a risk there. We live in a very transient society. People are always looking for the next best thing. But I believe that young people in particular, if you make them feel a part of what you're doing, they'll stay. I think first of all, I think young people get a bad rap. I really do. And because I think the generation, these guys, for example, is much deeper than they ever get credit for. Right. So I think if you do what you said and make them feel like they're part of it, like this is your company, right? You need to take ownership of this and have some pride in this. That they'll repay that with loyalty.
One thing I like to really work in is I may come to them with ideas I've found, but I stop there and I ask, where's this going to go from here? Can you learn this new software? Can you watch these TikToks and do this? What can you learn to add on? Because I can't teach everything, right? I don't know everything.
Right.
But there's videos on absolutely everything in the world. So I challenge them not to just be stagnant or not to do it how they learned 3 years ago. How can we improvise? How can we automate? How can we speed up?
Yeah. How do we get better?
Yeah, exactly. What do we get better with? And it's really helped drive everyone's growth.
That is awesome. So we talked about 5 years, 10 years. So let's go. Let's really stretch. 20 years from now, do you see the twins in the business? Would you like to see the twins in the business and carry it on another generation?
I feel like they won't be in the business. That's my time right now. That's how I feel today.
Okay.
I feel like they'll be doing their own thing. And that's because I'm not going to force them to follow in the footsteps. Sure. But if they want to, or if
the door's open,
if we still have it.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's another.
The opportunity may come where a sell is the best move for my family. And if I'm still running it and it's the best play for them and for our family's long-term goals, I'll do whatever play is necessary.
Right.
So we may come up with something ingenious and be worth $10 million. I doubt we still own the company.
No, and that's life. That's life. But you as a young father, you have to think about stuff like that. You can't spend. You need to be present in all of those things, but you can't spend all your time in the present. You've got to, not only as an entrepreneur, but as a dad, you've got to be thinking out, down the road as to if I make this decision to invest in this technology in the business today, okay, what are the potential ramifications, fallout for my family, for my wife, for my children today, tomorrow, and 10 years down the road? That puts an extra weight on those decisions that you have to make. So then you've got those other 24 families over here, and then yours. So that's a heavy lift, dude.
Yeah,
it really is.
Adds another layer, but it's okay. So I take everything with a grain of salt. I don't get too high and I don't get too low. And I feel like you have to be that way to own or run a business. I never get too upset with people, and I cheer for them when they do well.
There you go.
That's just, it seems to be the most comfortable way to live life.
It is. It truly is. And I always remind myself of one thing that I learned a long time ago. This too shall pass. Right?
What a
so I don't get too high with the highs or too low with the lows, because it's going to be temporary. Sooner or later, the fortunes are going to change. You know, you might have that win today, and then Thursday you're going to lose, and vice versa. You know, and it really changed my entire perspective when I was able to get into that mindset and really start to flow with that, because it's like, you know, you can't get too high or too low. So this too shall pass.
Exactly.
So one of the things we do, we'll start to wrap up, but this has been a great conversation. I love it. So one of the things we do, our podcast is based on 5 pillars that my father told me, always preached to me when I was a kid, when I was growing up. Live, love, learn, pray, inspire. And he would always say, if you do those 5 things every day, okay, live life to its fullest, you know, live gratefully, love unconditionally, you know, learn everything you can, pray, inspire somebody every day. You do those 5 things, it's impossible to have a bad day. You can't have a bad day, right? You have to have a good day if you do those things. So of those 5 things, what one of those would resonate with you and why?
Probably live is the first one, and inspire would be the second. And I try to, obviously being loving is important.
Yeah.
But I'm not necessarily the most lovey-dovey or that type of person, which is okay. It's not.
Sure.
It's not that I don't care. I still hug my wife and kiss her goodbye and give my kids a hug and kiss. Right?
Yeah.
But it's not I'm not an affectionate outward person. But going on adventures, doing things you've never done before just because, like,
Yeah.
why not? Right?
Days. Right.
Go get on a plane, go somewhere you've never been.
That's cool.
And, or anything along that nature. My wife's the adventurer and I'm the follower. I'm the planner and follower, I guess is.
Okay.
She comes up with the idea and we go.
There you go.
So, and then, inspire is kind of one of the other things. I feel like by helping people in the community or by running charity events or speaking at national conferences, you're letting someone know you're there to help, or you can do it a better way, or there's potential to see growth, or things can happen for you. And that comes in different ways based on what channel you're on. But I feel like I work pretty hard to do that, and it's rewarding personally for me.
That's excellent. You know, one thing that I've had a couple of mentors in my life that helped me tremendously, but they never once said, you should do this or you should do that, you should do it this way or that way. They just did their thing. They just went about their business and their lives, and they let everybody watch. And then you could pull your own inspiration from that, you know, because everybody's going to, perception is reality, and everybody's going to perceive what you're doing, what you're saying differently.
Sure.
Right? So if you're just going out there and being the best Davis Slagle, the best version of Davis Slagle you can be, you know who's watching. You know what I mean? So you don't have to tell them, this is how I do it. You should do it this way. You know, you're giving them the opportunity to watch how you conduct yourself and carry out your business. Listen, that's how people change the world. I mean, it's the truth.
And not everything's about doing it with eyes on you either.
Sure.
There's plenty of circumstances where we do charitable things that no one ever hears about. And that's for a reason.
The best time.
You don't need to do those things for publicity. Sometimes when you're in business and they marry and it's a perfect match, like the fundraise, the 0.5K and the money to school, that's fun.
Makes sense.
We have a blast with it. We're doing it for publicity. We're raising money for a good cause. But there's other times where it doesn't need to be, and just being a crucial member of your society is more important.
Right. That's awesome. Well, listen, this has been a great conversation. I'm really glad we had a chance to sit down, and I'm excited. I really want to get together. Let's move this forward and see what we can do together. I'm excited. It's really, really cool.
I think we could change a few things down in the valley.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim.